Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the ownership deal for the Arizona Coyotes could be in trouble. Hear from both sides on a study of the number of repeat offenders in state prisons, and see over 5,000 Arizona National Guard troops in a historic muster. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A new ownership deal for the Arizona Coyotes could be slipping away. Here with the latest is Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal. Mike, good to have you here. The New York Post is coming out with a story that this new ownership deal is failing. What's going on here?
Yeah, we weren't supposed to be back here talking about the Coyotes' fate until 2018. We've been through all the saga, but their bankruptcy, the NHL owned them since 2009. Summer 2013, this group called Ice Arizona bought them. We're going to keep them here in Glendale, in the Phoenix market. But then earlier this year, turned out that this hedge fund manager, Andrew Barraway, who tried to buy the New Jersey Devils, the New York Islanders, was going to buy a majority interest from this Ice Arizona team, owned majority interest in the Coyotes. Now there seems to be some questions about whether that's going to go through. The New York Post has been reporting on this, some other places, question whether it's going to happen at all, if he's going to pull out. There was some league meetings with league owners down in Florida, and people kind of thought, well, maybe this is when they'll approve it. The other owners will vote on it. They didn't. And so we're getting kind of the same song and dance that these things take a while. And it's just another chapter in this ongoing saga about unstable ownership, uncertain future here in this market out in Glendale.
Let's get to the future in a second, but first of all, who is Andrew Barraway?
He's a hedge fund manager in Philadelphia and got some money. Has been interested in buying teams, tried to buy the Devils, which had financial problems, tried to buy the Islanders, which has also had some issues. They recently they're moving to Brooklyn. And so, he struck a deal to buy 51% of the Coyotes. So there was questions about when that popped up, like why are the current owners who've only owned the team for a little over a year, why are they selling? They said, well, we're going to better capitalize the team. We got a new guy coming in, he's got a lot of money. Other folks said, well, maybe it's not going as well as we thought or as they had hoped, and they were looking to cash out a little bit.
So do we know why this Mr. Barraway is backing away?
Well, there's a lot of questions about why he's doing that, where he's coming from, and where he might be going, because there's questions about the Coyotes' future. There are also questions about the future of the Florida Panthers down in Miami. They have really way worse attendance than even the Coyotes have. And so there's question about that. There's question about whether the NHL is going to move teams to places like Las Vegas or Quebec City or Portland, Oregon or Seattle, or they could expand there. So I think there's a lot of questions about, well, maybe he could buy the Panthers, maybe he could get an expansion franchise if you do that, or maybe he's looking to buy the Coyotes and move them. So a lot of moving parts that people aren't sure about.
As far as the Coyotes are concerned, the New York Post also is reporting that the general manager has been told by current ownership, the ones that are still there, shed payroll. What do you make of that?
Well, they've gotten rid of some players. They're not playing very well. They've had a bad losing streak. They're not winning at home. They're in a tough division. The playoff prospects aren't great right now, and they have shed some players. And this has gone on throughout this whole process too. They have a hard time keeping free agents. People have left. But if they really if there's a fire sale, Shane Doan, somebody like that goes, something's up. If they can't keep their core players, there's a question about, well, they're getting rid of them because they want a youth movement, try some young kids in there, or they get rid of them because they want to shed payroll. And does that make them more likely to move, or maybe somebody else can come in and buy them? It's just a lot of uncertainty. Now the Coyotes are saying, no, the deal's still going forward. We haven't told Maloney, the GM, to shed payroll, but we'll see by the trade deadline coming up if Shane Doan, the captain of the team, or some other notable players that get paid a good bit, if they leave, the writing's kind of on the wall for what's going on there.
Well, and we have to wonder, can current ownership hang on? I know they lost $25 million last year. That arena deal says that if they lose $50 million, over 5 years, they have an out clause. They're halfway to the out clause.
Oh, yeah.
Only 1 year.
That team has been losing $20 to $25 million routinely throughout the years. Now, the ownership there, they've signed some naming rights deals. The Gila River Tribe took over the naming rights from jobbing.com, so the arena's called that. BMW, some other stuff. They say ticket sales are a little better. And they were hoping that they would show some stability. We're going to stay here. We have owners now. We're not owned by the NHL. And you get a few sponsors signed up. So they had some successes there. It's hard to gauge, how much money they're bringing in from those deals. Sports teams don't disclose those things. And and so it's hard to gauge, really how successful or not successful those are. But the Coyotes ownership, disputes some of these stories that are out there. They said the Barroway thing's still progressing, and there's not a fire sale. But we'll know at trade deadline. And if this thing totally falls apart, then we're back into the situation of, are they going to move to Seattle or Quebec or Vegas?
And as far as this new ownership deal and the possibility of the new ownership deal, how does that impact the arena deal? Does that negate it in any way or alter it?
When this was first announced, I called over to Glendale, who owns the arena, and they weren't sure if it changed at all, if it's the same structure. If he's buying into
Yes.
the ownership, maybe it doesn't change it. If the ownership structure, a whole new entity comes in and buys it, then maybe it would change it. But they weren't sure, and it didn't seem like it was a fait accompli that they would need to have a new arena deal. That's the last thing Glendale wants to do. They went through 7 or 8 incarnations of arena deals and ownership groups and trying to get something to keep the team here. And they finally got something done, and now a year and a half later, they don't want to have to go back to the drawing board. They have a new council, the Mayor Wires and that group. There'll be a lot of fatigue out there. It was already tough enough to get something done. So even if Barroway comes in and buys 51%, they may be able to keep the same arena deal there, which would, keep Glendale out of the crosshairs again.
But with Barroway, again, based in Philadelphia, already has tried to buy in New Jersey and New York and that area. It seems to me that if a team is going to be past that $50 million loss in 3 instead of 5 years, that would be the new area of concern.
Sure, he can go out and shop. Any owner can go out there and shop the franchise to other cities. Vegas seems to have popped up recently as a possible market. There's some interest there. Quebec City is trying to build an arena. There's ownership. Some of these markets, Seattle, Portland, were interested in the Coyotes before, when their ownership situation was uncertain. So they could pop up again. And a lot of times in these situations, you got essentially a distressed property. You're going to see what the best bid is. They may go back to Glendale and see, hey, what we can get out of you guys. Can you keep us here? And we'll see what the city does. Usually when these teams move, the host city, you saw this in Atlanta, we can't do any more. We've done enough.
Yeah.
There's nothing's going to save this. But if these other cities pony it up, we'll see. But the NHL, throughout the whole process, was such a staunch supporter of keeping the team here. Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, and Bill Daly, his deputy, they fought tooth and nail to keep the team here. I think they're still somewhat invested in trying to keep the team here. But if there's a better deal in Seattle, or Vegas, you could see a move.
You mentioned Glendale has fatigue. I would imagine the NHL is starting to feel it as well.
Well, I think the fan base has fatigue too. The NHL has, unlike maybe the NFL, some of the stronger leagues, has some problem childs out there. The Devils, the Florida Panthers, some of the other warm weather teams really have issues.
All right. Mike, good stuff. Good
Thanks.
to have you here.
Beside Highway 191 near Clifton is a memorial to 1880s Arizona law and order. Then, as now, the Clifton Cliff Jail is a 2-room hole, blasted from solid rock and fitted with iron bars paid for by the owners of Clifton's first copper mine. Local tradition says the jail's first unwilling guest was the local stonemason hired to build it. When he finished the jail, the mason decided to celebrate at Clifton's Hovey Dance Hall, where he downed snakehead whiskey and shot up the place. The dance hall belonged to the deputy sheriff, who rewarded his rowdy patron with a compulsory stay in his own creation. In 1906, a flash flood filled the ground-level Bastille with water and mud, forcing the rescue of the prisoners by rope and the jail's closure. Today, it's dry, and visitors are welcome to take an eerie step down and back into Arizona history.
Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an 8 Insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the 8 Insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
A new report by the Arizona Prosecuting Attorneys Advisory Council shows that 95% of those in Arizona prisons are repeat and/or violent offenders. Here to discuss what that means in terms of incarceration rates and the debate over sentencing reform is Maricopa County Attorney Bill Montgomery, who is also a member of the Prosecuting Attorneys Advisory Council. Also joining us is David Eichner, the Appellate Unit Supervisor of the Pima County Public Defender's Office and President of Arizona Attorneys for Criminal Justice, a statewide organization of defenders defense attorneys. Good to have you both here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bill, we'll start with you. This idea of these numbers showing certain folks concentrated in state prisons. What are we talking about here?
Well, back in 2009, Arizona prosecutors commissioned an initial study looking at demographic data of inmates within Arizona's prisons to see whether or not our efforts to put those who are the most violent offenders in our community and those responsible for the most criminal harm were in fact within our prisons. And we've seen since then an increase from 94.2% to 95.3% of that population falling within categories of either currently in for a violent offense or having had committed a violent offense, and in for repetitive felonies. In other words, this isn't the first time that they've committed a felony.
Okay, what do those numbers mean to you?
Well, what they mean to me is that we are focusing on the population of offender who should be incarcerated versus offenders that we're offering diversion to. Over the last 3 years in Maricopa County alone, we've offered diversion to 13,000 people who otherwise would have been convicted of a felony. So we want to be able to distinguish between those we should be spending our tax dollars on to incarcerate and protect our community from versus those that we can give a second and sometimes third and fourth chances to.
What do the numbers mean to you?
Well, there's two problems with the numbers, and then the third question is, how can we keep people from getting back into prison? The first problem with the numbers is the way that the report categorizes violent offenses. Now, Dr. Fisher, who published the report, was given criteria to put into the numbers that violent offenses count not just murder and rape and kidnapping, but also offenses like possession of a gun by a prohibited possessor. And you can be prohibited just by having a felony DUI on your record. It's not a violent offense per se, and the Department of Justice doesn't qualify this as a violent offense. So what counts as a violent offense for Dr. Fisher's purposes, the numbers that he was given, the statutes he was given, don't actually qualify as violent. So the violent numbers are inflated. Then the report conflates the violent and repetitive offenses. So we do have a lot of repetitive offenders in prison, but why do we have all of these repetitive offenders? And part of that is because we don't provide any opportunities for these people to have rehabilitation. If we have better probation services, and there's one program that's been rolled out, has federal grants, is drug treatment alternatives to prison. And when people are allowed into that program, they have great percentages of success, far greater than the average probationer.
I want you to respond on the metrics and the definition of a violent felony offense.
Sure, and we didn't dictate to Dr. Fisher what specific categories to use. We asked him to take a look at the prison population. And I'll take issue with Mr. Eichner here that I don't want to wait for that person to fire that weapon before I get to prosecute them and put them in prison. If they're already a prohibited possessor, which means they've committed a felony, and they can't follow those rules, and then they're armed with a weapon, I don't want them to have a chance to harm anybody else in the community. And I think that's a difference between criminal defense attorneys and prosecutors. We're charged with protecting the entire community. A defense attorney is charged, as they should be, and as our system is set up, with defending the criminal sitting next to them. So we can quibble over what that might mean, but if they're going to pick up a gun, I want them in prison. The additional metrics that we're looking at, even if we separate violent offenders from repetitive offenders, we're still looking at almost 60% of those in prison are there for violent offenses or have committed a violent offense. Repetitive offenders alone are in excess of 70%. And those populations mixed together, though, when you look at their criminal histories. And this is all objective data, Ted. You either are in for a particular conviction or you're not.
And indeed, it sounds as though those who support these numbers and look at these numbers, as Bill Montgomery does, saying the right people are being incarcerated for the right reasons.
Well, we don't dispute that the right people are being incarcerated. What we dispute is whether everyone who's incarcerated is a right person. We submit that the wrong people are also being incarcerated in addition to the right. That the number of people who are the right people in prison is not 95%, but significantly less. Now, whether an offense is violent or not, I guess that depends on how you create your definitions. Whether it was Dr. Fisher or APAC that created these definitions, they're not correct. This isn't the way the federal government defines violent offenses. Also, they're not only including the conviction for which they're in currently, but previous convictions, previous felony adjudications as a juvenile, offenses that are believed to be committed. It's not restricted to just the offense that they're in for now when they get considered violent. But I may be a defense attorney when I walk into the courtroom, but I'm a citizen as well, and I don't want violent people acting violently either. The question is, when somebody commits an offense that is a status offense such as prohibited possessor, does that per se make them violent? And the answer is no.
The truth in sentencing laws, 85% must be served. A lot of folks have problems with that because they don't see, again, some of these felonies as being the type that need 85% served. Do you think that's the reason that we're seeing these numbers?
No. In fact, if we could put that chart up,
okay.
We can go ahead and take a look and see what impact, if any, truth in sentencing has had. Truth in sentencing was passed in '93, went into effect in 1994. And then shortly after that, we also had Prop 200, which mandates substance abuse treatment for the first 2 drug possession convictions. And when you look at that, Ted, the trajectory for an increase in the prison population was happening before those 2 went into effect and continued afterwards. But if you look at that red trend line there, that's the crime rate. And since truth in sentencing was passed, we have seen a consistent drop, and over time, where we're at right now, we are at historic lows for crime, and we are exceeding the drop in crime across the United States. Now, that in conjunction with everything else we're now doing as prosecutors and focusing on that population, I think is contributing to that. But the other thing that we need to figure is that truth in sentencing laws, which resulted in about a 10% increase in the amount of time that people are spending in prison, has, from 1995 to 2010, and this is in the 2011 Fisher study, it's estimated that it has prevented roughly 1 million crimes. 1 million crimes. So that's 1 million victims who weren't victimized because people were incapacitated and could not commit crimes where they were in for that extended period of time.
Looking at this chart, what are you seeing?
Well, the data will show what you want it to show, but let's look at what we have nationwide. Nationwide, there has been a downward trend in commission of crime. It's not just in Arizona, it's nationwide. And the initial APAC report by Dr. Fisher and subsequent reports have committed the logical fallacy of finding causation where none exists. They think because we have truth in sentencing and the crime rate falls, that one caused the other. But when we look at other states that have implemented sentencing reform, New York repealed its Rockefeller mandatory minimum drug laws, and even though there were less people in prison, the crime rate went down. South Carolina, Mississippi, Texas, hardly the bastions of left-wing liberalism have implemented sentencing reform because people like Newt Gingrich and Grover Norquist say this is the right thing to do. And they also see the same drop in crime, even though they have reduced levels of incarceration. So the correlation, the fact that we have 2 data points of a decrease in the prison population or leveling off and the having truth in sentencing, they are not related.
Not related.
Yeah. Well, and for someone whose job is to advocate for their client, I appreciate the point. But the data is what it is. And we're not just looking at the trend line, which for the last several years, Arizona's crime rates have been falling faster than the national average. So we're not simply following a national trend. However, other states are following Arizona's lead. We increased the threshold limit to charge someone with a felony for theft. Other states followed. We mandate substance abuse treatment for the first 2 drug abuse convictions or drug possession use convictions. Other states have followed. We don't send people to prison for their first felony conviction in Arizona unless they commit a very narrow range of offenses. You actually have to work very hard to go to prison in Arizona because that first time you're going to get probation. And we've also seen a drop in the prison population from people who are being revoked on prison. So rehabilitation programs are working in that regard. I would agree with the third point that Mr. Eichner made earlier, though, in that we can look at what we're able to do with those who are going to leave prison because they've been sentenced as a first-time offender. They're not generally a first-time offender. They've committed other felonies. But what can we do during prison transition timeframes, and what can we do with community correction models to try to prevent people from recidivating?
I think the question, though, from Mr. Eichner would be, though, that sentencing reform, home sentencing, diversion programs, these sorts of things, that chart may not change all that much at all if those were in place.
They are now. We're doing it now,
If
Ted.
more of those were in place.
Well, but there's no more to have more of. Again, when you look at who is in prison right now, the question I was asked, who do you want to let out? There are 131 people in there for possession of marijuana. And you don't go to prison for possession of marijuana unless you've committed multiple offenses or you've committed a violent offense. So of the remaining population, who would you even try to point at that would even make a significant difference?
And we hear that there are too many low-level criminal offenses, people who commit these criminal offenses in state prisons, and yet from the other side we hear there aren't that many people in there at all, and the numbers show 95% violent. And again, we can talk about what violent is, but it's still a step above some of these lower level crimes. Valid?
Well, yes and no. First, I'd like to address Mr. Montgomery's point about my advocacy of a position, because this report being released by APAC at this particular time, it was released last week, yet it was published 6 months ago. So if that's not advocacy, the purpose of releasing it now was to time it to influence the January legislative session beginning. And APAC has admitted that. Howie Fisher has reported on that it's right there in black and white. So that's the advocacy that's at play here. But let me answer your question about how do we address who is going to prison but maybe shouldn't be. Maybe we should have sentencing reform similar to what the federal government implements, which is that they have sentencing guidelines, a range that the judge is supposed to look within. But if the judge thinks that the guidelines are too harsh, the judge can depart from the guidelines. And if the prosecutor doesn't like it, the prosecutor can appeal. In Arizona, on the other hand, we have guidelines that are rigid. The judge cannot depart from those sentencing guidelines. So basically, the sentencing range is being determined by a line-level prosecutor. Sure, there's guidelines that Mr. Montgomery and his colleagues set, but it could be a 26-year-old prosecutor who's making the sentencing decisions instead of a very experienced judge. If they're so sure that 95% of the people in prison belong there, what's the harm in giving that deference, that discretion to the sentencing judge? If it's correct that all the right people are there, the judge will make that decision as well.
Got about 30 seconds left. Respond, please.
Sure. I asked questions about the report which delayed its release. So I don't care who said that it was released in order to influence the legislature. It was my fault. But in terms of the people who are in prison now, they're in prison right now because of the system that we have. Determinate sentencing, which is what guides prosecutors, judges, and defense attorneys on which types of offenses are going to face which types of sentences, has been in place for quite some time and is doing good for Arizona. It's not there for the good judges because they would do that anyways. It's there for judges who need that guide. And in each one of the different categories of offender, based on prior felony convictions, there is a presumptive sentence that judges can depart from downwards or upwards based on the evidence.
Okay, we got to stop it right there. Gentlemen, great conversation. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
On Pearl Harbor Day, the Arizona National Guard held a muster to honor veterans from the past 13 years of battle in the Middle East. The event was held at Sun Devil Stadium, where over 5,000 troops from 29 Arizona communities literally covered the entire football field. Photographer Gabriel Rodriguez was there.
Wait! Attention! Bring your units to stand at ease!
Today we are having a muster, and the muster is just basically a gathering of service members. In this case, it's for Arizonans to come and witness military service members and the gathering in military formation.
Lockdown!
The first time we mustered was in 1865 when Arizona National Guard became the Arizona National Guard. So it's a pretty exciting time. We're going to have both the Army and the Air portion of the Arizona Guard out here, all really in one place. Brothers and sisters at arms for everyone to see. Well, Arizona has a very, very long military history. There's over 600,000 veterans that live in the state of Arizona right now. You're going to see a lot of pride out on this field today. You're going to see units from all over the state of Arizona, from Tucson all the way up to Flagstaff, coming together as one.
National Guard members, both Air and Army, in formation, conducting, pretty much what we do. Our military professionalism, dedication, commitment to Arizona.
We, Attention!
Well, we're doing it just to show the community that what kind of forces we have, the pride that we have in our service, and also gives them an opportunity to come out and see what we have to offer. It's an historical event, and to be part of something like this it's once in a lifetime.
Also honored at the event, the families of 7 veterans who lost their lives in the last 13 years. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.